Welcome to Producer. Today we're having Isen Robbins. Isen is co-founder of Intrinsic Value Films with Amy Schoaf and has producing quality films for more than 20 years. Of Intrinsic's 35 plus films, 10 have premiered at the Sundance Film Festival, including last year's Tesla. His films have been to many festivals and been distributed worldwide, having won many awards and numerous nominations. Accolades include winning a Sloan Sundance Award in 2020 and 2027, winning a Sundance Special Jury Grand Prize and 6 nominations at both the Gotham and the Independent Spirit Awards. He is a Sundance and Film Independent Fellow. He has worked on international sales and regularly lectures at film production and finance. Some of his best films, past films include Experimenter, Blue Caprice, Brother to Brother, XXXY, and The Hebrew Hammer. He is a founding partner and C-level executive at Red Giant Entertainment and the Absolute Comics Group, which publishes the hit indie comic White Widow. Would everybody please welcome Isen Robbins, who has also been a personal friend of mine for 30 years.
So, hey everybody. Hi, Daniel.
So glad to have you.
Thank you for the lovely words. I heard that I was winning an award in 2027, and that was very exciting in your read. I'm excited to win an award.
Well, you deserve many, my friend. You're a very talented producer, very talented and prolific. I want to start off just asking you, because so many people have a different opinion or perception of what a producer does. So let's just start off at the beginning with, what is your definition of what a producer does?
Well, so I stumbled into someone, we constantly batter this about amongst the producer groups. It seems like many of us have different styles and different approaches and bring different things to the table. I heard recently, and I must admit I'm not sure who said it, so I would quote them if I could remember who said it. But it was said, possibly Ted Hope. He said, producers make things better. So I like that. I was like, make things better. Obviously, films happen without me all the time. Steven Spielberg has not called me once. If you're listening, call. So, you really get this feeling that you're capable of producing everything and doing everything, but movies keep happening without me out there in the world. But then there's a bunch of movies that have happened with me. And on those, I have brought everything I can, my full back. I push as hard as I can to help things be born. And that has begun with as little as a sentence. 2 sentences a young director threw at me once. And it was like, pick one. And we picked one, and we made our first movie. And so from that, a creative input, all producers like to hear they're creative. Indeed, you'll see when you have a producer and they give a note, how important that note is to them. Always accept the note a little, and then you'll have them hooked. Creative input, business input. I can walk on a film set now and smell the air and know the second could be fired or supported one way or the other, right? Like I can smell it. I can see the gumming of the work.
Is that a binary choice, either supported or fired?
Yeah, they're doing their job poorly. So, not to just shoot them, per se, to go find out why they're doing their job poorly. Usually, we should shoot them, right? Like, that's generally how it should be. But, I try to have an open mind. And it's a hard job. All of it. So we find money. So we go and find money. That's what everybody thinks we do, is we just find money. But finding industry power is better than money and comes with money. We find cast. I'm there, I hope, to tell directors when they've gone in a wrong direction, which we've done. I've been there to cheer. There have been people who are so much more creative and brilliant in what they do. My God, I pray that we just hire people like my favorite note, which I've never given, is, oh man, that was perfect. Great. That's my favorite first note. And I've never given that favorite first note, but I long to give that my favorite first note. That's amazing. We're going to the Academy Awards. But no, there is, you get into the muck in the creative process, right? And I don't trust myself, really. It's not like my notes are so great. I've grown past that. And so now I'm focus groups, and I'm bringing in lots of editors, and I'm bringing in lots of people to really think about it. I'm doing the same in script phase as well, trying to get scripts as good as they can. I just haven't gotten there yet, but I'm still trying. So I'm trying to make it better in every way I can.
Well, can you stop just 1 second there and talk about script and how important it is to not shoot before the script is ready, and how successful or unsuccessful you have been in accomplishing that?
Well, I mean, again, you can tell by the career that it hasn't hit Academy Award level yet. So I've made good films. Maybe I've made one borderline or two borderline great films, like they're on that edge of great. I know great is out there. I'm still hunting it. We've worked on every script. There's been very few exceptions. If it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage, they say, right? And so that's a pretty good one. Without a completed blueprint, you're going to be struggling. You're fixing it in post. It's really hard. It sucks. I don't recommend it. I do it all the time, right? But majorly restructuring a movie in post, which I recently did, is really painful. Can be done, can work. Fire the third editor. Bring in the third editor. Miraculous transformation. You can take a mediocre script and get a good movie. I don't think you can take anything other than a great script and make it great. Probably an exception in the world to that. And everyone has a different definition of great. We're in this crazy subjective world. But then we bring our subjective components out into a very, if the whole world looks at it, is that objective? No, but a very large amount of subjectivity where you are judged, and you're judged very harshly. And wait till you get to the Wednesday matinee. You really want to see how hard they can judge it. Not the Sundance screening, but the Wednesday matinee in New York City. After you've opened. That's the rough one. So if it's not on the page, it's not on the stage. We can make great films into great scripts into good films. We can take that's much easier. I'm saving the answer to the hardest thing, but it's much easier. Great is really, really hard. So that's trying to make things better. I'm trying to make things great. You need a great script. And how do you get one? There's a joke. How do you know a script is great? By reading the first page. Recognize the name of the author, right? So, which is really, I'm so sorry if you're beginning, that's such a jerky thing to say. But there is a truth. Great writers deliver great scripts. So it is a honed craft. Not to say the first timers have not brought me some of the most beautiful material. Brother, one of my favorite scripts that I've ever read that I produced. So beautiful.
Let's take a pause there, and before you talk about the script for Brother to Brother, this is one of your more high-profile, accomplished films. Can you just run through its awards that it won?
Oh, it won a thing at Sundance, and it did well, and it played a lot of major film festivals in Berlin as well. And that's good. So it won tons of grants and a plethora of awards that I would need my curriculum vitae.
You would need a note sheet to be able to run down the awards. Okay, so tell us about that script when you first read it.
Wow. But what was neat, so we'll go like a little more overview. What was neat about that movie is when Moonlighting won the Oscar, at midnight, my phone lit up. I'm like, and so people were like, your movie was before midnight 10, 15 years. And there's a thing about being too early, which I'm good at, being really ahead of the curve, which is terrific. So that was a black gay movie way earlier than society was ready for. I mean,
and launched the career of
It is
Anthony
fun.
Mackie, right? I mean, Anthony Mackie, that launched his career.
His first role. Anthony Mackie, Amy Scho, business partner, and Rodney found Anthony Mackie on a stage at Juilliard, where he was doing his senior thesis thingy. And that's where Anthony Mackie entered our world, and arguably entered your world too. This is great. A goddamn star, right? Like I have named 7 people who I've worked with before they were super famous as stars. 6 of them have become stars, like real stars. I'm very proud of mine. I'm very cautious with it. And there's one, the jury's still out. We'll see if he makes it. I'm not sure if
I'm curious, who's the one that the jury's out on?
I won't say that. That's
okay.
You can ask the ones who made it, but the jury out. And then one guy totally disappeared, quit acting after his movie, his one movie. But he had something, he did. And now he's still. I tracked him down on the internet. He sells real estate. Right?
Wow.
Like I just lurked.
The film business is not for everyone. That's for sure. It is not for everyone.
No, agreed. But so Mackie had it. The script was great. The budget was super low. We got to a very good film, right? That was, to get to that, we edited a long time. We worked really hard. Sidney Hoffman. A movie, they say, like the project is only as good as its weakest link. And I know you and I have had this conversation before. Like a PA who doesn't show up with camera truck and you lose an hour and 30 minutes has just damaged the quality of your movie. I'm not blaming bad movies on PAs. God damn it.
And you're not calling out any specific PA here, but you're just saying there's a domino effect that affects the quality.
No, right. A terrible writer does a lot more damage, right? And a drunk actor does epically more damage, maybe, depending on how they handle the drunk. But it is that much of a machine. So I'm a system analyst in some ways. I'm a system builder. Like I feel like sometimes we make the inside workings of a watch, right? Like it's amazing the amount of effort it gets to hear the words rolling and cut. And in between those two words, rolling and cut, the magic is, that's where it is, right? Like that's the moment of it is captured into forever. The rest is just fluff and disappears. And so we funnel all our energy into creating that tunnel that gets to that like specific moment. And as a goal, as a producer, one of my goals is to increase the amount of time that you can have rolling and cut, right? As opposed to lighting, or getting the actor out of hair and makeup, or finding the actor, or waiting for the art department for the paint to freaking dry.
I have that discussion with directors all the time where I try to explain to them that cut out this location. I know that you would prefer to have this location as opposed to doing those scenes at at a location we're already shooting at. But I always say, like, would you rather be spending the time packing up trucks and moving the trucks, or would you rather be spending the time shooting? And it's exactly right. You want to spend as much time possible shooting. And if it's not an incredibly dynamic location that's going to radically improve the production value, then there's no need to spend that time packing up trucks and moving when you can have cameras rolling, and that's where the magic's happening.
Company moves are horrible. I consider it like moving 15 tons of mashed potatoes. You have to take 15 tons of mashed potatoes, get it off the floor, into the trucks, and then back on the floor somewhere else. I hate that. That said, I'm a location. We've done many of our movies on location, much more on locations than on set. That's for better. It's just better. Right? Like, there's so much. I've lost all my authenticity on shooting in a real location. If I can afford to build it on the stage, I would much rather do that.
Amen.
That said, keep shooting. Get as much quality as you can. Squeezing the dollar for converting dollars into art, converting dollars into the most positive art we can get out of it. That's what a producer does, like in that long thing. But again, there's so many types, right? Like there are specialists just on, okay, you have a cast and you have a little bit of money, you have a cast, and you need more money. I can find more money. That's not particularly me, though I know a lot of those people. And sometimes that is. I have a cousin in the business who's just brilliant creative, right? It's just a brilliant creative. He has a large file of IP that he is setting up all over town and figure out. But nice. But his true skill set is his nose. His nose, his eye, and nose for talent. So that can be a producer, right? I've seen people who are managers who are producers, who just have a good client. The client is basically money. There are physical producers, right? Like many people, not just Dan Solinger, but Dan comes out of that path. There's many types of producers. But like a Callum Green, for example, goes all the way up into the Star Wars movies, and now basically is a studio film guy, but he was a physical producer, magnificent physical, exceptional, like the Anthony Cataglia system. Those people who come that way. So that's a whole path. Getting famous actors to show up can earn you your producing chops as well. So, and some of us do everything, which I do everything. And then marketing and sales. Sales is money. It's retail. And that happens. So I think that comprises of what I think a producer does. A whole lot of stuff.
All right. Well, that was an excellent answer. And I'm wondering, when was that moment that you knew that that's what you wanted to do, that you wanted to spend the rest of your life pursuing that?
Right. I'm going to cut through a lot of the facts, right? Because it gets to producers slowly. Beginning, opening scene, 4 years old, watching Godzilla movies with grandma, right? Like when I would go out to my grandma, my little moment of independence with my parents, and we'd go out to Brooklyn, and I would go to the matinee with my grandma, and we watched Godzilla movies, and Godzilla was the best, and I would be screaming. I would ruin the movie for everyone around me. I was jumping on steps. I was a terrible child, atrocious. Just terrible. But noisy, and I wanted Godzilla to survive in all time. That's the first movie for everybody. But after that, they made those movies for my age range at that point. I still watch them. Godzilla. Cut to high school and the plays, right? So the high school play. I end up working with a fellow named Kevin Fox. We write sophomore and junior high school plays together.
Wow.
He's on to be a showrunner and write The Negotiator, right? Coincidence. With our high school job, James DeMonaco goes on to write, do the Purge series, right? Star. I do come from Hollywood. So found the art, liked being the lead actor. So I was the lead actor in a bunch of plays. That was good for your social life. And I enjoy the creative part and a little bit of the machine, though I was a punk. I was definitely a punk at that point. Okay, fine. Still, it hasn't dawned on me, and I could point to like seeing 2001: A Space Odyssey and being terrified of zombies for the rest of my life after watching Children Shouldn't Play with Dead things and so on and so forth, to a bunch of movies that had magnificent, gigantic movements on who I am and what I wanted to do, but still hadn't sunk in. Maybe I'd be a scientist. Maybe I'd go this path. I'm enrolled. No clear direction in a college program. I take a film elective. A man named Buddy Givanaga, who I have to read the being bad, puts a Super 8 camera in my hand, way back in the yonder olden days. There was this thing called Super 8. And so I had a Super 8 camera in my hand for the first time, and I'm holding it, my hand. It's like a hammer. It's a hammer. It's a tool. Like, oh, people make movies. I think I'm 18 and I have this big epiphany. That movies just don't magically grow. Someone builds them. And I have a hammer in my hand right now, and I know how to make stuff with a hammer, so maybe I can make stuff.
18.
18-ish. So I begin to take elective after elective, and then I leave that school to go to NYU, where you and I meet at some point. I still haven't figured it out. I'm not a producer yet. It hasn't occurred to me yet. I'm on film sets. Now I'm on film sets. I'm like, wow, this is so much fun. I'm very, I'm good with a hammer and a drill, for that matter. So I have a good decoration sense, and I'm probably a sculptor, like an unevolved sculptor to some degree. Like there's an artist in me to some degree. And so the art department, I fit right in quickly into the art department, right? And I'm asked to production design a couple of SVA grad films. And then that spreads into NYU grad school, right? So I go to NYU grad school, and I'm asked by a fellow to design his subway platform. So I build on a subway platform. I build some more subway stuff. Pretty cool. I do a good job. But he's producing, and I'm watching everyone work. I'm watching the producer, and he has free box of gaffer tape. But I really need screws. But he won't give me $1.50 to go buy screws. Right? And I'm like, wow. So I spend hundreds of dollars worth of gaffer tape, which isn't as safe in any way, shape, or form, than using, which I probably could go buy the screws myself. I don't know why I didn't make that, but in the heat of the moment, I was just like, you're not giving me money, I'll use the goddamn gaffer. So at that moment, I'm sitting there going,
Are you saying you put together a set with gaffer tape instead of screws?
Yes, that is true. I think I had 3 screws, and then I ran out. So yeah, very safe, extremely safe. So there I am on this set, and I'm watching this guy, and I'm like, that guy's a moron. Like that was such a terrible word, but a fool. That was such a terrible decision.
Well, that sounds like a very pound-wise, penny-foolish decision.
Terrible producing, awful producing. And I'm like, that guy is a terrible producer. I'm watching what he does, and I'm watching what the other people around him. I'm like, I can do their job 1 million times better, is what occurs to me. And like the light goes off, and I have this pizza box, right? So there's this pizza box, and I'm like, I don't have it. I can't find it. I think it's still in my possession somewhere deep in the closet. And like, I will be a producer, I write on it. And then I'm like, and it's at lunch break. So I'm at lunch break, sitting on a Apple box, looking at my set. And I'm like, I will be a producer. I'm like, okay. You need filmmakers. I know 5 filmmakers who I think are really good. I'm going to make their first. Anya Mormon. I never made her first feature.
I remember Anya, yes.
Made her feature, and I didn't properly respond, and I should have. I'm dumb. She was a great talent, probably still is. Hillary Brower, I did make her first feature. Tony Pemberton, I did make his first feature. I forget the other 2 right now.
Well, let's stop at Tony Pemberton. What was his first feature?
That was Beyond the Ocean.
Okay.
At the time called Autumn.
So tell me about Beyond the Ocean. Was that your first time you went to Sundance?
That was the first film we got into Sundance with. We submitted it to Sundance. Tony was like, please submit this to Sundance. Please submit this to Sundance. I was an inch away we were doing the Nas Nostradamus 3D music video. My first and only really significant music video. Also, incidentally, the 7th most expensive music video ever made. It was a bloody runaway train. It was awesome and awful and amazing at the same time. We spent $3.7 million in 2 days.
A $3.7 million music video?
$3.7 million.
Holy
we
mackerel.
had 10,000 extras because we announced it on the radio and they showed up. I ordered pizza from every pizzeria in Queens, all of them, all their pizzas. Like, how many you want? 200. How many can you get me? Right. Like, it was so out of control. And we were more physical on it. It was so out of control. They fired our AD, the best AD I knew in New York. They fired him the night before shooting.
Oh my God.
I can tell you about the weird.
Well, I'm curious. I'm curious now. So
forth. But there we are. Tony Pemberton
right.
needs to submit the film to Sundance. It's the last day, right? So I hire a courier because I'm making a lot of money at that moment. I hire a courier to fly the application, not knowing now that you could very easily call and say, "Hey, I'm going to be a day late." But at that point, I didn't know. So I hired a courier for $580 or something like that to fly the application from the set of Nostradamus 3D to Sundance. So he flew it in to Los Angeles. So that was sort of, and I almost blew it off, man. I almost just messed with my buddy, right? Like I was almost like, yeah, I submitted, but I didn't. I put the energy in, put it out, but you put the energy, right? Even though that was a little last minute energy, you still put the energy in. And there we were, and then, you wait. I did nothing. It never was like this again. Since then, I played much harder, much more targeted. Now it's a game of darts, right? But then it was just like, throw it in the air and see what happens. So we threw it in the air and see what happened. A few months later, I get a phone call. I wrote Tony's phone number down on the application. I never did again either. Right?
You never put the director's phone number down again?
Yeah, don't do that ever. Right? So Tony is off in the middle of Russia at this point, traveling across Russia, and no one can get to it because it's like a long time ago and it wasn't easy, right? So no one can find Tony. He's gone for months, right? And that's how it is. So finally, Trevor Groff tracks me down and calls me on my home phone. Miraculous. And he calls up and he's like, "Hi, this is Trevor Groff. It's really late. It's after Thanksgiving when I get the call."
Wow.
Right? It's like, it's late. So I didn't think we were in Sundance. And so it's late. It was the week after. If you can't find anyone in your team, could someone please call me back? I want to have you come into the Sundance Film Festival in competition. Click. Trevor Groff's voice sounds a lot alike, in my opinion at the time, to a mutual associate of ours, the ever evil but old friend, and skewed friendship, but I've always liked him.
I know.
He's a real producer. He was a real producer in New York City at the time, and an old family friend, strangely enough, right? So Andrew. So I'm like, Andrew. I call Andrew up. Andrew, bastard, evil monster. You left, and he's laughing. He's like, I think you should return that call. However, next year when you hear it, it's going to be. And so I call Trevor, and boom, we go to Sundance. We are the strangest movie ever to play competition, I've been told. Right? Like, I remember playing at the Echoes. Everyone showed up there with all the beastly giant heads of every company, and we showed them an experimental art film from Russia. Absolute weirdness, way over the top weirdness, the edge of a narrative. They created the next category, and the new front. They created it because of Beyond the Ocean, because of the response they got of putting that movie in competition. It was like that was the year I had the weirdest movie. I had another movie there as well. Like 2 movies at Sundance that year. Nice way to begin.
It's a great way to begin. Well, and what was the other one that year that got in?
Drop Back 10.
No, that was the same year?
Yeah, I think Stacey Cochran. Yeah, I believe we're talking about the year 2000. So I believe that is correct.
So this is a great moment to ask you, since you, what advice would you give to a young producer who gets that call from, an official at Sundance saying you're in? What is the best thing they can do to sort of maximize the opportunity, would you say?
Well, at that point, you're going to suddenly start hearing from the sales reps. So, the sales reps and publishers, right? Get the right one of both. How do you do that? It's not so easy. References. Check references on everybody, right? At Sundance, find a condo as close to Main Street as humanly possible, right? So that would be my advice on that. They're expensive, but it's definitely worth it. And look for opportunity. Get your cast there. You're going to hear this all from your sales reps, so get your cast there. Have some money left or find some money, do it. You want your cast, you want your director there. We go to festivals for 3 reasons. The first reason is to sell our movie. The second reason is to get publicity for our movie. And the third reason is to network our faces, right? So your publicist can help you with networking your faces off. Be sure you're on every party that is possible. I get a little obsessive about that. But this is, again, lower on the list of importance of selling your movie. Selling your movie is to try to create noise about your movie. And each one is different. Sometimes you don't want to create a lot of noise about your movie because your movie's really weird and you want them to sort of stumble in it and make a discovery. They're really small and we're very quiet and we don't really sing. Sometimes we're very noisy, right? So each movie, there isn't a perfect plan other than sell your movie, get publicity for your movie, and have a good time. Don't get sick. Other things at Sundance. Well, now that we're in a global pandemic, one of the reasons I survived to some degree the global pandemic so far is because Sundance is coded in disease. So know that when you're shaking someone's hands at Sundance, you're likely about to get terrible flu. So wash your hands a lot, right? It's a germ melting pot. Yeah, you laugh, but I know you know. The Sundance crud, they used to call it. But there's a lot of people that think Corona was introduced at Sundance. So
the timing would be about right.
Probably,
or like
I didn't hate
it probably was a super spreader. It could have totally been a super spreader event.
It could have been a super spreader event, right? And New York, the first official case was early March, I think. But then we all got hit real hard, real fast. So anyway, Zach, we'll focus on the good part of it right now. So those are some of the Sundances. Getting into festivals, I recommend contact, right? So, and then multiple follow-up, and not you follow-up. So contact. When I'm approaching a festival, I read a catalog. I open a catalog, and I read, and I see which programmer wrote which review. That's a little clue to me on what their tastes are. Oh, I mean, the authors, you can look them, try to figure out their tastes online as well. You get a picture for it. Target. Find someone. Target it. Found one. Great. Call them. Before, not like 3 hours before the deadline. Call them a few weeks before. Get in there. Make contact. Hey, I'm so-and-so. Maybe you'll just get to the assistant. Make contact. Great. Why don't you send me the film? So, when you send it, send me the tracking number. Great. So now I have someone watching the film who can help it along its way. Right? So I'm trying to eliminate getting eliminated by non-decision makers, right? If I'm going to get knocked out, I want to get knocked out at the high level, right? So
that's really important. Always make sure you're dealing with a decision maker.
Follow up.
Yeah.
Get people to pressure, right? If you know no one, that's going to be harder, right? But if you know people, hey, do you like the movie, Dan? I do. Did you make a call on my behalf? I seem to remember this happening between us, but in reverse.
I'm sure more than once.
So, and you try. So I try someone who has connections at wherever I am. Are there tastemakers who can join? So when we did Michael's film, Michael on the Radar, we had 3 of his films at Sundance. It was much easier to find tastemakers. I'm like, hey, would you call John on our behalf? Would you call John Cooper?
So what you're saying is that somebody who is a tastemaker who knows about your project lobbies to the festival.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. I don't consider it cheating. I think that's fair game, right? So you work your network. What does the producer do? He or she works their network, works every opportunity it can think of to make something happen, make things better. Getting into Sundance will make things better. I love that now. Up until this year. Now I hate them. Yeah, I do. I still love them. but they didn't accept. I tried real hard this year to get some movies in and knock it. But this doesn't always work, right? Like there is no that you cannot twist an arm. Oh, and God, we have tried. Like on other places, we've had our wealthy people were either on the board or the board of directors over all the people, right? And we tried to leverage from up high, didn't work. We, I tried to a muscle, didn't work, right? So a huge stars hammer on my behalf, didn't work. So they really are. There's a degree of honesty in their program, and so you can't force that. But what I'm trying to do is just ring the bell so they don't forget about it, right? Like, and that's what I'm trying to do. Which I've had 10 films at Sundance. I'm credited with making 38 films
as a producer.
So that's a 30. It's like a 23% chance of getting a film in to Sundance. That's something.
That's got to be. I'm going to wager that's better than any other producer on the planet.
No.
That percentage?
Yeah, not true.
It's definitely in the top 10, I would say.
I don't think that's true, but I bet I'm top 50. So that's it. But like the 10 Hopes of the world, the Christine Desson have a significant batting ratio. Yeah, but 225. What's that? I don't know anything about baseball.
So, what would be the last thing you would say about the film festivals?
Well, I mean, I could just keep talking, right? So, one, if you don't get into the majors, you have to hit the majors first, right? So, the top 5. Everybody, their goal is your world premiere, right? So, your world premiere, then reducing down to your continental premiere, down to your country premiere, down to your coast premiere, down to the city premiere. So they want the premiere. You have to save your premiere for the biggest festival. Sounds simple when it's explained to you, but many people miss it. So that's one. So you're working on, so your best hope is your world premiere. You don't get the big festival. Enter 600 small ones and win stuff. That'll be okay. And you have all those laurels on your movie. That's another way to drive into sales. I've sold movies reasonably well that path. A little harder, a little longer, a little slower. The market at the festival is the very best place to sell it. In 90% of the time, 95% of the time. The audience loving your film, a standing ovation at the end of your movie increases your sales. The audience has come to Sundance, come to Toronto, to love movies because they love movies. Maybe different in Canada. But same in Berlin, same in Venice. They want to love your movie. That love, combined with the room is filled with buyers, all playing poker, creates an environment where the sale of your movie will never be better. Do not, if there is an offer at your festival, your major festival premiere, and you think there'll be a better offer later, and you don't have a better offer later, do not say no to that offer. That is your best offer 99% of the time, right? Of course, there's always exceptions. So there. I think I will stop talking about that so I could keep going.
Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever sold a film without a festival strategy?
Yes.
So talk a minute
and so
about
that's
that.
the fallback. Look, it's not really a festival strategy. Let's call it a sales strategy.
Okay.
The U.S. independent, right? Like its strength is like if you've done it independently. I've sold movies before I made them, right? I've made them by selling them, arguably, right? So there's that, but we still hit the festival. So, there's an argument that selling a movie before anyone can actually see it and it's only imaginary and in their head. There's a strength in that, right? I have sold a movie cold after it got rejected by every festival in the world, but it was a little commercial. So the sales reps and us, put together, we did some rooms filled with executives, right, in New York and LA. We tried to create that bidding situation. Once I was a development executive, at a foreign sales company a long time ago.
I remember.
And I was brought in to cover a purchase of some movies. I was told, go check this movie out at the screening room at ICM or UTI. I don't remember. Right? And I went into the screening room. And a dear friend of mine who I missed terribly, and like my first line producer, not my first, but a man I built up who went on to become a development executive, a man by Seth Carmichael, went on to become a very fancy executive. I watched him walk across the street, AFM in like $1,000 shoes, with sunglasses, the suit, like was at that point box somewhere at the studio. So now he's working at a studio in acquisition. So he's in the room and we watch a movie together, and it's funny. And no one's laughing in the room. No one's laughing, and I'm beginning to laugh. I mean, I'm laughing. I have a good time. The movie's over. Seth comes over to me. He's like, "You hated that movie. I know you hated that movie." I was like, "What do you mean? I was the only one laughing." He's like, "Right. You were driving up the price for someone by laughing." And he said, "Or you're dumb." This is a poker game, he told me. This is a poker game, right? So you set up these poker games to sell your movie, where people are just yawning. We had a movie, Satan's Little Helper, that played Tribeca. Sort of goofy movie. I like it very much. Goofy horror movie,
right?
Comedy horror, right?
Right.
And so the first industry and press screening, I'm there. I'm always watching. I'm watching the people in the room. And Tom Quinn, who goes on eventually, I forget where he was at that point. I sold the movie to him when he was at Sam Goldwyn. Now he's at Neon, right? Everybody knows Neon. Mm-hmm. Tom Quinn, 10 minutes in, just goes, "Oh," makes this noise, gets up, slams his seat, right? Like I totally wasted his time, walks out, slams the door as he leaves. I'm sitting in the room. I'm like, "Oh, that hurt," right? That physically hurts you as a producer, something like that. My phone rings, which is on silent, but I see it ringing. It's Tom Quinn. I'm like, "Tom." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah." So is it about the same level of dumb and funny and a little horror through the whole thing? I'm like, "Yeah." Does it have a big ending? I'm like, "Yeah, it does." I try to explain it. He's like, "It's okay. We're making an offer."
Wow.
Oh, poker game, right? So
he sort of rushed out to try to make sure nobody else would outbid him, thinking that he hated it.
But he also made it look like the movie was garbage in his mind, so no one else would bid, right? So, the man's good at what he does. He really is. I was at the Parasite. I'm pretty much telling you all the great things that have ever happened to me. But I was at the Parasite Oscar party, and Quinn was there, and just to watch them win so many Oscars, so much fun. There, done. So yes, we have definitely sold movies at festivals without festivals. It's just a strategy you work. You want to have the best. You're trying to create the best auction, the best place to sell it. So arguably that is a festival. It could be a room at ICM or UTA or CAA or a room Cinetic sets up. We've certainly done individual screeners for people. We used to screen the movies directly to them and links to them. Watermark your links individually if you can.
There's an excellent website called MDTV that automatically watermarks everything for you.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I feel like it also pulls the quality out of your movie for some reason.
Huh. I haven't.
Like you should see what they're watching. Make sure you watch what they're watching.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think it kind of ruins the quality of the film. I'm not totally sure why, but it's not as good as the Vimeo link. Vimeo links, no matter what they tell you, you can rip a Vimeo link.
Right, but if you're having to watermark 10 or 15 movies and put them up on Vimeo links, or you can just spend 3 minutes typing into NDTV, like I don't know what you want to do.
NDTV is a great service. I don't disagree with it, but we gave up on it because of the quality.
That's interesting. I haven't had that issue, but I'm going to look at it more closely now.
And I probably could have talked to them about it, but I don't think we could have fixed it.
Well, Isen, I had 12 questions I wanted to go through today, and our time's almost up. We did 2.
Oh, sorry, Dan.
which and it's been and they were wonderful. But I want to just ask you the last one, which is basically what is the you can either do the hardest thing about being a film producer or the best thing about being a film producer. Dealer's choice.
The best thing about being a producer, in my opinion, is to have produced. I happen to be a person who loves the art of producing, the act of producing, the structures, finding the money, the thrill of the hunt, capturing the money, getting the actor, casting, getting through the agents, like talking your way through the manager, through the agents directly in, or sneaking around them. I enjoy the game of chess. I got really mad at Michael Moreta on a set, and I just slipped out and I said, your art project is messing with my chess game. Right? So, dumb thing to say, but so to me, while they're doing this art thing, I am playing this massive game of chess, structuring.
So basically, their piece of art are the pieces on your chessboard that you're playing with.
Yeah, to some degree, right? Or I'm painting with directors, painting a career with directors and writers and actors. They're my fingers on the brush. That is something. I enjoy that. But the story and how it permeates after. So it's to have produced. And what happens afterwards as it echoes out into the world. And the strange effects and the impact on humans that it does have. It moves people. I've been there for a couple of things. My first movie at Venice, the woman crying, talking to the director, of course, all the accolades go to the director. If it's bad, it's the producer's fault. If it's good, it's all the director's responsibility for making it good. And both were a little true and both were a little false. And so this woman in tears, as she watched our time travel mystery, kind of bisexual anthem, said, for the first time in my life, I felt I was no longer alone.
Wow, that's deep.
And one more step, and she said she was considering killing herself. Instead, she came to me.
Wow.
That's my first movie, my first major festival, second major festival, my first movie. I was like, I'm done. That one thing was really cool. And then it's weird in other ways too. You and I, we made a movie called The Alphabet Killer together. Horror film. On the set of The Alphabet Killer, I got called to set one day. And not once in the history of ever has when a producer is called, we need a producer on set, it's ever been because someone wants to give you a big bag of money or it's just
that something good is happening.
Right? So I get called on this terribly rainy evening. And there's a woman and she's like, you Hollywood scumbag. You are making a movie about the rape and murder of my sister right in front of my house here in Rochester. And then I had no response. I was like, well, ma'am, we won't be here long. It's all that came out at that moment. And she spits on me. I get spit on, right?
Wow.
When I tell the story, she spits in my face, but I believe in real life she spits on my foot. But regardless, but it's more visceral and splashes in your face. The splash of spit in my face and the rain washing the spit off as she's telling me I'm Hollywood scum. Fine. So I think you may remember, we leave that. It's an unsolved case. We put our movie shooting in the city of Rochester makes them, right as we're shooting, start to re-examine the DNA evidence that they have. Because the murders happened when there was no DNA. right? So
Right.
now they sweep a cigarette butt and they pull a copycat and they arrest him. A few months after we leave town, they arrest a guy who snuck in a murder. Horrible, horrible murder. Okay, that's pretty cool. We took a murder. Now, he never was going to commit another murder. It was like one murder.
Based on
still,
making a movie.
Yeah, his career. He was an okay guy other than murdering a child once, right? So he's out. So they arrest him. He has a heart attack. He dies in custody. Never solved, but there it is. A murderer is justice is served. Like, that's pretty cool. The movie comes out on DVD and VHS. I think it was VHS. I like to date ourselves. And it travels across the United States. Serial killers tend to have a single MO, right? So they kill the same thing. They kill the same way, same people for their life. Alphabet Killer was different. So they never caught her. And what he did, his MO kept changing. He kept getting older as he got older. Very unusual, extremely unusual, but that's what happened. So, but there were other little similarities that whatever the FBI database did not connect all the killings. So when everyone saw the Alphabet Killer and saw the absolute weirdness of this dude in our imaginary world that we killed, we pointed out the cases. A bunch of people said, hey, that's a little similar to this town. That's a little similar to this town. A little similar to this town. And then somewhere outside of Washington, they arrested an 84-year-old, 87-year-old dude who looks like he was the Alphabet Killer. His neighbors called him the Angel of Death. That's what their nickname was for this old guy. And they all thought at some point this old guy was going to kill someone.
Wow.
And they arrested him. And he died of a heart attack in custody as well. And I was like, oh, look at that. We shined a light on an issue. And look at the transformative power that this thing had. Even when I was a Hollywood scumbag profiting on this terrible creature and his horrible action, I thought back to that woman who spit on me, and I was like, okay, I get why she spit on me, and I don't disagree. And at the same time, justice was served. A little bit. Not saying we did it per se, but clearly been a part of it. And that's a particularly dramatic echo. Like you drop the pebble into the.
No, that's a great story, and it really shows the promise and the peril of in one snapshot of filmmaking. Well, Isen,
right? It's the magic of it, Dan. That's what
but it's also like I think you pointed up to the exploitation, which I think we are capable of as well. So. I appreciate.
But somebody loved that movie.
What's
somebody loves that terrible whatever that movie is. That terrible exploitation movie to some degree.
Right.
Somebody loves it.
Of course. Not just somebody. I mean, before Netflix took it down, I noticed it had 700,000 likes. So a lot of people like that movie.
Yeah, but any movie, even your strangest weird exploitation movie.
Right.
There's some cult somewhere.
Oh, believe me, I know. It's true.
Not evil. Don't make from evil.
Well, I mean, you think about that movie, The Room, and there's a whole legion of fans that love what is arguably one of the worst movies of all time. So there's.
It's cool. Every day is a little bit of a different adventure, don't you think?
I do. And that's what I love about it. Our time's come to an end, Isen. I really appreciate spending the time and giving us such a treasure trove of knowledge and information from your long and illustrious career. And I hope that you make a lot. Don't roll your eyes. You've had a great career, and I hope this is you're not even at the halfway point yet.
Well, it's been total pleasure. Always enjoyable speaking to my friend Dan, and you can call me anytime. And we, 4 or 5 more sessions, we can finish the 12 questions.
Okay, I may ask you back. Be ready.
Okay.